This week we're talking all about ways to release oxytocin, or how can you be a more empathic leader. Oxytocin is that neurochemical that gets released in the brain when we feel as if other people understand us or they get us. And oftentimes as leaders, we might struggle to be seen as authentic. So one of the best ways to be relatable or to be authentic with your audience is possibly to share a time or a story when maybe you didn't succeed, or maybe when you were struggling, or maybe when you learned a lesson. So what you're going to see coming up in the clips that follow is a little bit of my story and some of my struggles this week. Well, this week was supposed to be the post on empathy and oxytocin. And I had it all mapped out. I was going to do this awesome post. And it didn't happen. And I'm thinking, why didn't it happen? What is going on? And if I can tell you anything, it's because there are days when it just doesn't work. There are times when you have the best intentions and you fail. You don't make it happen. It doesn't turn out. And so today, instead of getting sucked in the rabbit hole, I just put on my shoes and I went for a walk. And here's this video. There's no makeup on here. There's no great lighting. There's no awesome script. There's no call to action. There's even no pretty clothes and jewelry. It's just raw. And maybe I'll post this and maybe I won't. I don't know. The only thing I can say is I just couldn't jump up here and say how important it is to be an empathetic leader and to give stories that will release oxytocin and not release the story that's happening right now. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing what I said I wanted to do. I'm not creating the way I wanted to create. I'm not hitting the deadline that I wanted to hit. And I could blame it on all sorts of things. And the bottom line is, I'm failing. That's the way it feels. And that's my story today. Is it going to be my story every day? No. Will it be my story forever? No. And sometimes telling those stories where we fail, or when it's not all the hero accomplishing everything and I'm all triumphant, are the ones that can matter most to the audience. Because who here hasn't felt failure? Who here hasn't felt isolated during this time? Who here hasn't had an opportunity to see something happen and see it evaporate and go away? I'm sure I'm not alone. And neither is your audience. So if you know your audience is experiencing or wanting to feel like you are an empathic leader or you are somebody they can trust, tell a story that will release oxytocin. And sometimes those stories are our failure stories. The clips are some of my ruminations on some of the things I wasn't getting done. And I share it with you because we've all been there. And the power of story is when we hear someone else's struggle and when we hear their story, maybe we don't have to go through it ourselves. That's the power of story. That's why story works, because we're like, I get it. The brain cannot differentiate between something that's happening to you and something that's happened to somebody else. The parts of the brain that light up are the exact same parts of the brain that light up if we're going through it or if we're really feeling somebody else's story. That's why story works. So stay tuned next week, where we delve into the fifth neurological response inherent in any good story, the release of adrenaline, or how can you instill a really strong call to action with your audience. You won't want to miss it.